to do right now. Okay, so now I'm recording. So this will be recorded, and then I'll share it out, and we'll also post the slide deck. So there'll be lots of ways to review it, or you can always reach out. So I wanted to start at just a high-level view of Ouzel. So thinking about, when we started working on this system, and then the system previous, but really Ouzel, what it was at a high level that we really needed the system to do, and that was to be an aggregator, to bring us everything in one place. So, any of you who have seen presentations on this before, I've kind of gone crazy with slides about like all the places that we have data all over. But we all know it, we have files of many types, and it's squirreled away on a server somewhere or a piece of paper. And one of our objectives with this was to put everything in an organized way in one place that everybody could access. So we're all looking at the same stuff. We know where to go for it, and we're not constantly searching. I don't know about any of you, but in the pandemic times of remote working, we're often now looking like, is it in Teams? Is it in Outlook? Is it in a SharePoint? We don't want that with our stewardship and land protection and other data. So that is one of our big goals here. And the other one is to have it be modular so that it can grow, that we're not just building this static thing that does a few things, but we can continue to kind of grow the ecosystem that is Ouzel over time, and also adapt it for different land trusts. That I guess I would add that other layer, that when we went into this, we really wanted something that was for us, Columbia Land Trust, but that would be available to other land trusts as well. And so we have a lot of needs for Ouzel. So, I mean, gosh, we had meeting after meeting and brainstorms and walls full of Post-it notes and spreadsheets, and a lot of wishes for Ouzel. We have big dreams, and every time something comes up, it gets added to the list. But when you boil those things down, you really can boil it down to these sort of 7 buckets, right? We needed something that would help us manage our tasks and projects, and provide a little bit of structure and guidance for staff there. We needed something that we needed to be able to store files. We were sick of having, our monitoring photos in one place and the report in another place, or again, searching for stuff all over the place. We needed spatial data integration. So again, we're not doing something in one place and then having to open ARC or whatever you use for your mapping to go do a spatial workflow. We want to bring those things together. We needed it to integrate with other systems. So an example could be a donor database or other spatial data. The list is sort of endless. We needed it to notify users so that it's not just its own system. While we would love if everybody was opening Ouzel every day, if folks are in the field or just not working in Ouzel for some reason, we need them to be notified in other ways. And we also really needed flexible analysis and reporting. So previous systems that we had tried, we were putting a tremendous amount of data in, but not really able to get anything out. And we'll go through and show you some examples of this, and it's pretty incredible. And then lastly, we really have been wanting for so long, like all of us had, this mobile offline capability and functionality. And so this is sort of these are the buckets that as we go through, you'll see, we'll touch on how we're addressing these as we go through. So we built it. These are my opportunity to put fun pictures in. Okay, so I wanted to start by sort of going through just an orientation to the layout and navigation in Ouzel. But before I do that, this is sort of key concepts, or like the Ouzel glossary. So just to ground you in these terms so that as we go through, it is a little bit clearer. So properties, we might all call them something different. Columbia Land Trust calls them stewardship units, although often properties is synonymous. Other land trusts call them preserves or reserves or what have you. But in Ouzel, they're called properties. And this is land that we steward. And this could be equal to, a acquisition project. It could be many acquisition projects that make up one property. It could be part of an acquisition project. So it's really just a spatial definition of a piece of property that we manage, however we within our respective land trusts decide to define that. Regions is a tool that allows us to organize our land. So at Columbia Land Trust, we have properties or stewardship units, stewardship areas, and ecoregions. And so because we work in a large region, it helps us to be able to group our land in different ways. And then if we want to distribute management responsibilities differently, we have that flexibility at the different levels. So not everybody's using this, but it's pretty handy if it works for you. Tasks, so we're all familiar with tasks. In Ouzel, we have tasks that are planned, and then we have tasks that are work, and work is just a task that it has hours, basically. Projects is a tool to help us group tasks, define checklists, sort of work through predefined systems and help us do our work better. Issues is a tool to track easement violations and fee property issues. You'll see me throughout just refer to issues, sort of capital I issues. I tend to call everything issues. I think it works. And then resolutions. And then contacts is just a person or in some cases a group of people, but this is both staff and others. We also added roles in here. And so, for the most part, this defines, the role or roles of a contact. It also can be synonymous in this instance with departments. So for example, I have the role of stewardship. And then also you'll see, stewardship is one of the roles in Ouzel, which is kind of like, this is our departmental portal. Okay, so layout. So let's just look at this basic. So this is, again, I'll try to familiarize you with some of the terms that you'll hear me say again and again. So this is a dashboard. This is the stewardship example. These little boxes on here we call widgets. So these you can think of as mini reports, and we'll dig into this a little more as we go through, but you'll see this again and again, a dashboard with widgets. Here on the left, we have our global navigation pane. So this is a way to navigate around to the different things in Ouzel, one of the ways. Here on the right, we have our user pane. Excuse me. And so this is defined by whoever is logged in. So since I'm logged in, this is my Ouzel. These, for example, are my stewardship units or properties. You can see across the top here, these different icons, which equate to tabs. So if I were to click across these, I can see my tasks, I can see my hours, I can see my projects, I can see issues, communications, etc. So it's a nice quick access for your stuff so that it's just right in front of you. Oh, and this, let me just go back one. So this up here, this is is one of my favorite features. This little search button icon opens up a global search pane. And so super helpful for just searching across the system. You can see these little, I think, Chris, we call these chips, with these little buttons here. And so this is currently what it's searching for. This is flexible, but it's nice because you can turn it on and off if you're getting a lot of returns and really quickly navigate, search for what you're looking for and navigate to it. Let's see. So, oh, this is another pattern that you'll see a lot. So this is the preview pane on the right. So this in the middle here, this whole page here is an example of a search page. You'll see a bunch of this as we go through. This is our units or properties search page. You see that we have a filter pane on the left, sort of the content in the middle. And then I clicked on this row, Rystica right here, and I get this preview, again, with tabs so that there's a tremendous amount of content available just right in this little preview pane. It's pretty great. And then you'll see this other button throughout that just takes you to the thing. Let's see. Oh, this is another way to navigate. So this is just navigating to a property on a map. And again, being able to see that preview. So, trying to really make Ouzel easily navigatable from wherever you are, being able to see additional information. So you're not having to like navigate to one place and then come back out and navigate to another place. And from right here, I could go to this property page or, you know, zoom around the map some more or add data, what have you. Okay, let's drill into roles and departments a little bit. So let's see. Ouzel is in part driven by roles. And so everybody can define their own roles. Land trusts are approaching it differently. We have the three primary roles of conservation, land protection, and stewardship. And at Columbia Land Trust, conservation is sort of the overarching umbrella of land protection and stewardship. Excuse me. So this is showing a conservation dashboard. We have all these handy widgets with our sort of current roll-ups. And if we were to click on one of those, we can drill into additional information. This is again, the stewardship dashboard. And we have, again, you see these tabs across the top, so more content in there, but this is sort of the primary beef of the dashboard. And then here's land protection. So you can see that these are all tailorable by the role. So we can define, what do we want to see here in these widgets? What do we want to put in front of staff that, you know, typically that have this role that are going to be using this space the most. And here we just have a bunch of different ways to look at our land protection projects, and as well as a map. And then we have this really great, we'll look at this a little bit later, this quick intake form. So we can really put a lot in there. If I was to click here on the land protection projects on this active row, then I get to drill down into here are active projects, and we can see kind of where we're at. We can click over here and go to them. So lots of ways for staff at different levels, staff searching, directors or supervisors who are overseeing programs who are trying to be able to easily track who's working on what. And also a way for us to keep our data clean. So, you know, if folks are looking at, do we really have this many active projects? I think a bunch of these have gone dormant, or, oh, that one closed and we didn't mark it, you know, things like that. So it's, again, Ouzel putting everything in front of folks so that we can really be collectively monitoring it and tracking it over time. So we're going to drill now into sort of the core of stewardship, and this is our property management area. So here is a dashboard for a project, a property. So this is the Woods Landing natural area. You see that pattern again. Here are the widgets. You can see we have a little bit of information across the top here. So we can see this is stewarded. So this is a property that we actively steward. The other status that you might see there for us is transferred. So where we've had property that we've then transferred to another entity. You can see that I am the lead for this property. This is one of mine. And we have a little bit of information here with the property information tool. We can see some information about tasks. We have a quick map here with our photo points. And then we have all this other information across the top that lead to other workspaces. This is also, like with the role dashboards, this is customizable by property type. So you'll see different color schemes. We could put different information on the dashboard. So it's very flexible and very customizable, which is pretty great. And again, the goal here is to have everything accessible in one place. So I'm just going to drill through what we're aggregating here on the property, just to help you understand that. So this is showing, here's the link to the 2 acquisition projects that make up this property. Again, we have a preview pane here, and we can see some information about that or go to it if we need to access more. Here are the parcels. We can see some parcel information, key tax lot info. We can see what project it's related to. We can also click across those tabs. So I was an overview previously, and this is showing the payments over time. This is an exempt property, so these are just, you know, other assessment payments over time. And we can see the spatial element. So here's the map of that parcel. So just an example of how we can use this preview space to access and interact with a tremendous amount of information, just all from one place. It's pretty cool. This is a calendar, so not a lot on here right now, but you can see we went out and did some planting. There's some filtering over here, so I could click these off and just show certain things. I suspect in the future, this will be really helpful for our volunteer projects, which we're not really doing right now, but also just a great way to see stuff temporally. This is a different view of the calendar. So this is a pretty nice, it's called list here, but we had another name for it that I'm forgetting. But it's basically just a timeline view of all of these things on the property. And again, you know, filtering on and off. We haven't put a tremendous amount of work into this yet. So over time, I think that this will be something that really gets sort of zhuzhed up, but it's pretty nice to be able to just see like what's been happening on the property. Here's our contacts, and we can, you see that roles there. We have big on roles. So here are all of our contacts for this property. And again, some information in the preview pane. There's Chris. Here are communications. So easy access to our communications, easy ability to add quick communications or add to threads. Super helpful. I'm sure that I have some that I need to add in there from historical communications. Here are tasks. Now tasks is, there's just a tremendous amount here. We'll go into this, I'll go into this a little bit more, but this is the task tab, and you can see that there's what we call work and veg control. So work is this task list. Veg control is a vegetation control module that we have to track weed control, veg control, herbicide use, that kind of stuff. Well, I'll show you some screenshots of that. So here's clicking on a row. You can see, again, the preview pane of some details of that task. We have overview, work, and deliverables. So I clicked on this row, Southfield Weed Control, which is a sorry, I got distracted by the Q&A for a second, by a volunteer, a site steward, volunteer site steward of ours. And if I click over to work, I can see these are all the hours. John spent a tremendous amount of time in early COVID going there almost every day, just for a little while, since everything was shut down. And he did some amazing work. So here are all of his hours. And then this is that veg control data entry deliverable. So we have the ability to tie deliverables to tasks of a particular activity code. Let me just go back to show you that here, this tells me that this is a vegetation control activity code. I'm not going to go into this deeply, but we will in our tasks session. But we code all of our tasks, and so then we can assign deliverables based on activity codes. So this is the veg control. We enter a bit of information so we can see what was treated. We can see a map of where it was treated. And if this was an herbicide application, we would see much more information of all the data that we need to track for our records and reporting. Again, taking a spreadsheet that we used to maintain separately and putting it into this one place where we're already doing data entry on work that we've done on our property. This is just a different view of tasks. So this is a kind of a handy day view. And I scrolled down to show you, here's an example where multiple tasks are happening in a day. And so we're breaking them all out by kind of what they did. And if I click, I think I put this in here. Yep, if I click on one of those rows, again, I see the preview. We have some plans to enhance this so that you can kind of have a day view that's like a bigger report for what happened across, if there were other activities within the property to summarize there, or photos or whatever. Here is our annual monitoring report space. So this is our monitoring reports over time, just in a quick table. And then these are some of the components of our monitoring report. So these are what we call, monitoring elements. This is a fee property. So these elements are just sort of our standard suite of things that we're looking at on a property for annual monitoring, but they are tied to restrictions. So in this case, that is I'm going to have to start going faster, I think. This is the management plan, but if this was an easement, these would be basically based off of the reserved rights and restrictions. And then we tie observations to them. So you can see on the right here, these are observations over time that we fill out for our monitoring. Here's the photo point space. So you can see the photo point locations in the map on the right. You can see the photo points here on the left over time. And a nice way to sort of compare over time, super easy drag and drop data entry. And I can also click on them and expand them and see descriptions, etc. This is the other photo workspace. So getting to see just other photos that we've uploaded or added to tasks. This is our issue space, which is kind of like a type of project, but slightly different, but walks us through the resolution process for easement violations and issues. These are the restrictions that I spoke about. So this is a different property where we have different restrictions and we can just quickly access information here. We can also track approvals and then get to the source document for those restrictions. These are the documents. This particular view is grouping them by their parent. So in this case, it's acquisition project and the monitoring report. But you see here how you don't necessarily have to go navigating away for into the acquisition project. Some of those documents are coming right through so that they're always accessible. Okay, let's see. I think we're doing okay, but I'm gonna try to keep talking fast. So I wanna look at projects with annual monitoring as an example. Again, here's the monitoring reports list. We can drill into a project. Oops, sorry. This is the monitoring reports globally. So go to that global nav bar. We have all the reports across the system. We can see sort of the progress on them. We can find old ones. We can do all kinds of reporting in here too. Here are the reports for this year. So you're just using that filter to filter out what I want to see. Super easy. And here is a monitoring report, again, with a dashboard. This is a project dashboard. We have different tabs across the top. We have a quick link right here in this little chip for the property. We can see when the project started. We can see and ended. We can see that it's done. And then this work tab here, this is sort of the beef of the project. And you can see on the left there, we have phases. So we've added phases to our monitoring reports just to organize the checklists. So we have phases, checklist, or tasks. You can think of each of those rows as tasks. And then again, that workspace here on the right. You might notice that this workspace is larger. So we've added this little button here where if we want to expand that to have a little more space to work, we can. It's particularly helpful in smaller screens where your pane can get a little small. But here's an example of a checklist item with a deliverable. So the deliverable is easement landowner notification. And we just, add the information here, drop a file. If it was a different type of notification, if we just had a phone call, we can easily down here switch it and just type in our communication for documentation. Here is the monitoring portion of the checklist. So you can see, pretty typical monitoring type checklist items. So I'm just going to look at a couple. Here are the monitoring elements. Here's the monitoring elements deliverable. So this is what we looked at before, and this is how it manifests in the form. So you just go ahead and enter your info in there. Here are the photo points with easy drag and drop boxes. Now you also can do that from the mobile app. So I'll touch on that later, but it's a really nice and easy way to add your photos. You can also add them from the main property space and they'll populate in there. We've built in the reports. So we have our photo report, our final monitoring report, and also a printable blank field form. So for those of us that still like to bring paper, we can print that out and take it in the field with us. One really nice thing is that we now have signatures embedded in here, so we can finalize our monitoring, open up our final report, and then we have this little procedure down here, this little tool that we click on it, it drops our signature in, PDFs it, and then we have a final report, and we haven't had to print it and sign it and scan it and do all that. And it's the same for photo report too. Oh, this is I just wanted to quickly show you. So it's this same structure for acquisition projects. I'm not going to go into that deeply, but Here are our phases on the left, our due diligence phases, and then we have all these checklists. You can see some of these get more compound, so we have multiple deliverables like enter initial project information, and you fill these 3 little things out. And then you can see that for this particular project, this person has completed it, so it has a green check mark. This also, one thing that I forgot to mention about the monitoring reports that equates here too is that these are all customizable or filterable. So for example, in a monitoring report, you'll see different checklist items for easements than you do for fees. So we're not having to know to skip things that we don't need to do for particular property types. We can really tailor that. And the same for acquisition projects. This, I think, is a fee property donation. And so this will show a checklist item for the final recorded deed. It will show a checklist item for 82, 83, et cetera. So other things related to that tool and those types that are specific for the checklist. Pretty great. So let's just look quickly at some of our spatial data integrations. I'm going to have a sip of tea because I'm just talking nonstop. Oh, good questions. So again, conservation dashboards. I just wanted to show this again to show here's the map. Those are showing our conservation areas, our properties. You can zoom in, you can turn data on and off. You can see your roll-ups. Here is a stewardship dashboard. Something that I didn't show before that's pretty cool is, here's that little map. And in this case, we have it set up such that if you click on one of those properties, it's spatially here, it's just going to open up to the property page. So again, just another way to drill into stuff. We have a global mapping space. So this is that. And you can just go ahead and add any data that's in the system, as well as add data that's outside of the system or create new. Here, I just added some of our issue data and some structures, and then I was able to really quickly re-symbolize the structures and zoom in and look at a property that I knew had structures. So there's really a lot of flexibility in here. Here's just the other view with satellite. We'll also be able to add, like if you have your own imagery, we can tile that and add it. If you have UAV imagery or drone imagery, sort of anything can be added in here. We can do this now, but we're going to migrate to something called Leaflet from Google because it just offers more features. It's easier to use. It's what we're already using on our mobile application. And so Chris has a plan to migrate us to that, and it will make it even more beautiful. Oh, this is a really fun spatial integration. So this is, if you remember back to the land protection dashboard with the little create a new project, it pops this up. And this is, here's this big map, here's this quick project creation form. If I zoom into my area of interest, I can just select those parcels and add them to the project. It will add the parcels to the project, and then it will create a project boundary out of those parcels, enter this quick information, and we're done. This is, handy across the board, super awesome for like super quick inquiries. We track all of our inquiries, even if we immediately decline them, because they come back. So let's see. Oh, this is just back to the project. So I just wanted to show a couple of spatial integrations here. So again, this is just key property data. I was going to say, I just quickly clicked on this and added adjacent units for fun. This is showing, so Chris just made this super quick. You can create any data in our system. So I had been talking about wanting to be able to spatially track our plantings. So here's a super quick form. Hey, we planted some grasses and there's where it is. And now we have that spatial data for tracking. Same with tasks. Tasks and have spatial components. So, here's a future planting location. Don't forget to do it. Here's where it is. This is how spatial integrates with the veg control. So you saw a pop-up of a completed veg control form, but this is how it is when you just go in and draw it. It's very easy. And this is the form. You can see this is for the herbicide form, so you get more fields to fill out. Okay, so parcels. Oh, this is parcel search page. So just showing, you know, the spatial view of parcels. One other cool thing to point out here is you can copy any spatial feature and put it somewhere else. You can, this fetch Esri, what this is doing is saying pull down our Columbia Land Trust Esri parcel data layer that is in ArcGIS Online, and then we can compare it. So if we've done a whole, like a, you know, an audit and overhaul and things have changed, or if maybe we drew in a temporary parcel and it wasn't quite right, and we did more refinement in Esri, we can just have those connected. Pretty awesome. Okay, searches and reports. Let's see, we're on slide 74. We're doing okay. So searches, you saw this before. Here's a search page. Here is the here are the filters on the left. This little gear down here takes us to some report functionality that I'll show. And basically, just to say, we have these search pages basically for everything: properties, projects, units, parcels, everything. So you know, if say you need something that's more obscure, it's not something that we've pre-populated or saved because you're not accessing it all the time, you can always go into, you know, the main list of data and kind of sort out your own stuff. It really allows for a lot of power. Here's where I've just searched. We type our properties. So I've said, show me all of the nature parks. Here they are. One cool thing, because this is something that we do frequently, is we have put this little widget, which I've made huge here, onto our stewardship dashboard. And so you may have noticed this. This is showing how many acres we currently steward. This is showing it across our ecoregions, which is our sort of highest level region that I talked about. And here I've changed it and said, show me the properties, the stewarded acres by type instead. You can see these are different metrics that we can sort by. I can sort by natural area managers, show me everybody's allocation of properties. If I go back to types and I click on one, I can then drill into the particular properties. So again, and then if I clicked on one of those, I could go preview it or go to the property. So again, different ways to drill in from wherever you are, putting information right in front of you. So tasks search page. So with the search page, so this little guy right here would bring you to that table view that we were just in. But this is sort of the home page, and this is a space where we can save reports. So things that we're going to query again and again, we can build it and save it, and then it's just there. So it's pretty great. Here is an example, the same type of thing, but for work, so meaning hours worked. We use this a lot, particularly when we're like trying to answer questions about volunteer hours and things. So if I click on this, recent hours worked, here I get this little report of recent hours worked over the past month. If I summarize it differently, I can say, show me everything worked in 2020. And here I'm grouping it by activity, those activity codes I mentioned. Here I'm grouping it by role. So I'm saying, show me the hours for all the different roles that have hours in Ouzel. And if I go ahead and click on the site steward role, which is our one of our volunteer roles, I can see the individual site stewards and their hours. And here's that volunteer, John Lawrence, who was out all the time last year until he got tennis elbow from pulling too much ivy. I'm missing one here. Oh, there we go. So this is another cool little widget. These are the project summary widgets. So this shows the statuses of our projects. So here, this is showing all of our acquisition projects and their statuses. This is showing our monitoring. You can see here, this is showing all years, or here we can just see the current year. So this is how many that have been created, and you can kind of see where they're at. And if you, it's not going to do it here because it's a screenshot, but if you hover over it, it shows you the numbers. Okay, very quickly, our mobile app. So this is this is in beta. It's brand new. It is amazing. I literally expected like 2 buttons and two pieces of functionality, and Chris created a mini Ouzel for the field. So it's pretty amazing. So this is what you would see when you open it up. You can see you have access to all of your properties here. I've selected 2. Here's me. I have a little user pane here too. If I go into a property, I just see some basic information about it, and these same tabs across the top that'll be familiar from desktop Ouzel. That's not really desktop, but what browser, bigger browser Ouzel, are there. And so here's a map. This is showing adjacent stewardship units. This is showing this one, Woods Landing. This is showing our photo points. We can actually click on a photo point and get access to the photos that I'll show you in a minute. And then we can do some other mapping here. So we can do spatial tasks, we can map veg patches, we can do photo point locations, and then down here we actually have the ability to do tracks. So if you want to do monitoring tracks or some other tracks, you can go ahead and do that. Our contacts, amazing to have that access right in the field. These are our tasks. This is drilling into a task so we can add our hours. So we track what we call work performed, which is anytime we do work on a property, we log it in here as a task with hours. And so this is a game changer for us because, you know, people have scribbles and notebooks that they eventually maybe get around to putting in Ouzel, but having the ability to sort of finish your field day and put in your information is huge. Here's our issues, here's communications, adding, of course, as well. Here's those monitoring elements. So we'll have the ability to do those monitoring elements right from the field and also see past monitoring elements, which is lovely. Here's if you add, you know, this is just if you were to add an observation. And I actually was out testing this recently and used it on a property, and it was awesome. I was at that Woods Landing property, and there are 2 easements next door, and I happened to look at my email and see that the landowner, who doesn't live there all the time, had a bunch of tree work done. And I was like, oh, is she allowed to have tree work done? And I was able to just, you know, go in here, look at my list of elements, get the information, say, oh yeah, but I'm just going to take a quick observation while I'm here, snap some pictures. And now when I come back for the monitoring, I already have that in there. I can add an additional observation if I want and have that all go into my monitoring report. It's pretty awesome. Here's notes. Here's the photo points. So all of the photo points for the property. Here's if we click on one, we see last year's picture. We have this little button here that we can click on and take a picture, and then we'll see that too. So all in one place, being able to do these tools from the field. Right now we have the components, but what's coming in short order is more project support. So, you know, some of that, the helping hand that a project can give to make sure you're doing all the steps of monitoring. I was going to say something else, but I lost it. So folks are pretty stoked about this, and a group of folks went out to test this yesterday, so I'm excited to hear how it went. I think I saw a question come in too, but I wanted to just talk for a second about the collective vision of Ouzel. So, you know, as I mentioned, when we created Ouzel or began the creation of Ouzel, we had this vision of sharing it with other land trusts. We were kind of naive about what that would take at first. And so I would say before Chris, BC. But it really is built on this idea of sharing and collaboration. So that all of the users kind of become partners in this work to guide long-term development and new features. Everything is shared. So for example, one land trust recently wanted to build out a weed mapping tool, and they're wrapping that up, and then that immediately becomes available to everyone else if they want it. So it's this nice, you know, Columbia Land Trust and Tall Oaks have invested a tremendous amount in building this, but now any users can contribute to that. And then what we've started to do is, have some meetings throughout the year with representatives of the users to talk about our priorities for the year. So we just are wrapping up sort of our 2021 visioning session to figure out, okay, these are the priorities that we're going to take on this year, get folks feedback about that, and then Chris and I can kind of do our thing. And I just threw some information up there about cost. Right now it's $2,500 a year, and then onboarding depends on the land trust, and we have some meetings to suss that out. One thing I wanted to just touch on is what we often talk about as the bonus features of the partnership is you kind of get these other skills. Chris is not, he doesn't have a company that does coding. He's an ecological statistician. And so it comes with all of that. It comes with the knowledge base of the partners. We have a lot of GIS skill, a lot of systems skill and ecological thinking. So there's a lot that comes along with signing up for Ouzel, or that's accessible at least. And then coming soon, so there's an incredible laundry list. I won't share the spreadsheet, but some of the things that are on the top of our list are more ways to filter and aggregate data. Chris has some great ideas for that, so that'll be coming soon. More and better ways to display data. We're working on more monitoring tools, so we want to be able to do all of our planning and assigning of monitoring in Ouzel. So you'll see those widgets change a little bit over time as they improve, and then we're adding some spaces to do that planning. Some photo point comparison, so you can take a picture and sort of out larger than thumbnail, do some comparison side by side, some habitat monitoring features. We're going to build in tools for, LTA accreditation. So, sorry, I just need a tissue. So you saw with the reports, we can pull everything out. And one of the things that we have on the list is to build basically all the reports that we'll need to populate our accreditation or renewal applications, so that we're not hopefully pulling 7 million file folders out of different files and searching and searching and searching. Although that will happen until you get the data in. We're improving issues and violations, more spatial integrations. We are always working on improving the UI, which is the user interface, and general enhancements. And of course, we're constantly finding and fixing bugs. And then there's just so much more. And it seems like every time we onboard a new land trust, there's more great ideas. So call us with your ideas. And with that, we have 11 minutes for questions. That was a lot of talking. Let's see. I'll do questions and answers first. Oh, let's see, Chris, let's just see what you answered. Independent great. How do you upload? Great. I have strong opinions about developing your own database. On top of Salesforce. Well, we can integrate Salesforce. So I do not believe that Salesforce, Chris has probably already said this. Yeah, I would just say that your donor database should not drive your land database application, because we can adapt to anything. What does Chris say about the growing pains? Yeah, I would add to the growing pains, which is that, so I've been with the land trust 10.5 years. About 10 years ago, I started working on this in some form, starting with access and then, different evolutions. And I think at first we didn't really, we weren't really realistic about what it was going to take. We didn't have the right person to work with to help us build something that was truly flexible and adaptable for us and for other land trusts. Because immediately, we'll think that we're really clear on what we want, and then we'll build it and be like, oh, actually it'd be really nice if it was this way. So it's just this constant, it's a constant learning curve, or it has been a constant learning curve of how to really, and I think Chris said this, like really planning out, spending the time to design something. This system is enormous. Like there is stuff that we didn't even touch on. And so, we took a lot on at first, or all at once, instead of building a little thing and then adding and adding and adding. So now I feel like we're at a place where we're sort of stabilizing from that huge push. And now we're getting to add some of the really fun enhancements, which is nice. What else do we have over here? Is there a calendar view that aggregates all the properties and their events? Is there, Chris? Probably. And if not, I think that would be easy. Oh, here's Chris. There it is.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of ways. We don't have a calendar the way we have that map.
Right.
Mainly because it never dawned on me. But we have them for the roles, so you can basically any task that touches on a role, or any event touches on a role. And we do have a widget that we can put on a dashboard that effectively would become a calendar for everything.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I was going to say we'd have a calendar also at the land protection, and there was a vision in an earlier iteration with the person that we were working with, who has since moved on to a different land trust, to be able to see, like, this is when we're going to take it to the board, the conservation committee, the management team, et cetera, really being able to see that calendared out view, which I personally love. But folks really felt, land protection folks were feeling like, we're probably just not going to use it. So I think that as we improve some of these different features, as we add integrations, I could see having more of that. I think the calendar stuff will become really important when we start having more events. But for us, like that, we just haven't had that need yet. And so nobody has said, hey, can we have a calendar that does this? So that is part of the beauty, really, of the multiple land trust users informing this, because, for example, well, we're finally hiring a volunteer coordinator this year again, but we haven't had one. And so it just hasn't been a priority to build out the volunteer role. But that's something that would be wonderful, because then we can put all the volunteer metrics on there. We could, have a calendar, whatever else is needed for that role space. Yes, this, I think it worked to record it. Yep. And we'll post it, and then I'll also share the slide deck for sure. The other thing is we have, what's coming up next, Chris? I can't even remember the order now. So we have 3 more scheduled webinars in the next month and a half that are going to drill in. Those are going to go deeper on a specific topic. The challenging thing about this is that, as I said, it's just a tremendously huge system. So we'll drill in on those. We have more planned, we just haven't calendared them out yet. And then all of those will also have recordings. And then we're starting to build out more content for the web space, so that, like little tutorial videos and stuff. So if you want to see, like, how do you create a task, and you don't want to watch an hour-long webinar, you could maybe watch 5-minute video. So more of that will come. Anyone else? Anything else to add, Chris?
No, I'm good. I guess I would say that if you have any questions, we don't have any content out there, you can feel free to email or call either one of us.
Totally. Yeah, and we wanted to do these webinars just to put this out there more, to make it easily accessible for folks. I expect we'll do, we'll be planning more throughout the year. We just sort of have the list of the first bunch. But we also work with individual land trusts who become interested to do sort of a orientation or a demo, so we can talk to you if you're interested, and highlight specific things that you want to understand more, and then just schedule a meeting and go through it in real time. So all of those things are options. All right, well, if nobody else has any questions, then I will wrap it up. Oh, sorry, that was a lot of fast talking, but we did it. And feel free to reach out. And I hope that it's sunny where you are because it's beautifully sunny where I am. All right. Thanks, y'all.